Here's the reading for pages 583 to 585, and we have a guest reader today. We have Mr. Bremer.
Mongols on the move. They have razed cities, cut down forests, overthrown fortresses, pulled up vines, destroyed gardens, killed townspeople and peasants, an alarmed European reported. These warriors, he went on to say, came riding with the swiftness of lightning to the confines of Christendom, ravaging and slaughtering, striking everyone with terror and incomparable horror. Who inspired such terror? The Vikings? No. Those words, written by an English monk in the 1200s, describe an even more fearsome threat: the Mongols, a band of newly united tribes from Asia. During the 13th century, these mounted warriors burst from Central Asia and conquered a huge empire. The disciplined Mongol troops pounded into northern China and then rode on to vanquish the Song dynasty in the south. They charged into Muslim lands and slew the Caliph in Baghdad. They thundered onto the plains of Russia and captured the city of Kiev. They threatened Constantinople and spread terror through Eastern Europe. The Mongol Empire, which began its growth around 1207 and finally fell in 1368, was the largest land empire in history. It lasted only about 150 years, but it left its mark on the historical landscape, from China and Korea in the east to Persia and Russia in the west. Who were the Mongols? In East Asia, just north of China, lies the world's largest landlocked nation, Mongolia. Mongolia is a high land, most of it rising more than 3,000 feet. The air is thin and the growing season short. Much of the country is covered by grassy plains called steppes. The Gobi, a vast barren desert, blankets the southeast. Summers in Mongolia are short, the winters long and bitterly cold. Rainfall is scarce in most of the country. Throughout the year, wind blows ceaselessly across the treeless plains in this desolate land. On the map above, locate regions covered by steppe lands and desert. On the globe or world map, find the modern-day nation of Mongolia. Mongolia has never been an easy place to live. The land and climate discourage farming, so the people who first inhabited the steppes became horsemen and herders. They tended sheep, camels, oxen, goats, ponies, and yaks. They were nomadic, moving with their herds and flocks over hundreds of miles from summer to winter pasture lands. For food, they depended on the meat, cheese, and milk that their herds supplied. The nomadic Mongols carried with them everything they owned. They even lashed their homes on the backs of their pack animals or tossed them into ox carts. These mobile dwellings, called gurs, were colorful round felt tents supported by wooden frames. The frames were easy to collapse and tote and could be erected anywhere on the plains. The gurs, thick sheets of felt, a sturdy cloth made of matted wool, shielded the Mongols from the unforgiving winds. Because of these dwellings, the Mongols were known to their neighbors as people of felt tents. Mongol families banded together in clans and tribes. Tribal members helped protect one another and manage the precious animals. Tribes guarded the rights to grazing grounds and often fought bitterly with enemy tribes. To a people who moved from place to place, no animal was more important than the horse. Mongol horses were short-legged, muscular, and hardy. During severe Mongolian winters, they could break the crust of ice and snow with their hooves to forage for stunted winter grass. A Mongol tribesman spent much of his life in the saddle. He moved his herds and family from the saddle, he hunted from the saddle, and he fought from the saddle. Mongol horsemen in warfare became legendary. The nomads of the steppe were among the first to use stirrups, which gave them a special advantage. Every Mongol boy learned to ride without holding the reins so he could use his bow and arrow at full gallop. There were few sights more terrifying than a band of Mongol warriors thundering across the steppes, firing their deadly arrows as they swept towards their enemies.
And that's the end of our reading of pages 583 to 585. Thank you, Mr. Bremer. And here is a picture right here of one of those gurs, those felt tents. And we'll continue with this on the next lesson.